the Miller Coors Urban Entrepreneur Series.
I'm Raquel Robinson, and I'd like to welcome you to the Choosing a Legal Business Structure webinar. Our panelist today is Asada Peterson, an attorney with the Shellis Law Firm. So what are some of the most popular entity forms? I know there's a C Corp and S Corp, and you talked a little bit about the LLC. Can you expound on those a little?
Sure. The C Corp and the S Corp are basically tax implications. So if you're going to register as a corporation, you register with your Secretary of State and you just be a corporation. Then if you decide you want to be an S Corp, which is a tax status, or a C Corp, which is a different tax status, that's something that you designate with the IRS on specific IRS forms. So the difference between an S Corp and a C Corp, in an S Corp, well, let me start with a C Corp because that's your traditional corporation. In a C Corp, it's you issue stocks, you have all the formalities that I talked about in the beginning. You have notice requirements, you have annual meetings. Some of them require more than one meeting a year. There are ways that you have to divvy up stock. There's times of years you can do that. It's a very formal type of entity. An S Corp actually alleviates some of that. So in an S Corp, you can have shareholders, you can issue stock, but you can only have so many shareholders. So in an S Corp, you can only have 100 shareholders. It's a corporation, but it's limiting you. Another thing that people like about an S Corporation is, unlike a C Corp, you don't have double taxation. And double taxation occurs when you have income tax at the corporate level, and then again dividends tax when you to your shareholders when you have stock. Most people don't like double taxation. So then what we've developed is called an S Corp. S Corp alleviates double taxation with what's called a pass-through tax, where your taxes for the entrepreneur, the owner of the S Corp, is treated like partnership tax. You fill out almost, depending on your business, different Schedule C's or E's for your pass-through taxation. So it's a much friendlier tax entity than a C Corp.
What should a small business person consider when they're establishing their business entity?
Well, things that you consider are, one, look at who you're doing business with. A lot of times people come together with a group of friends, partners, or it could be investors. You want to think about what you're bringing to the table and what's the best way for each person in that to play their role and to have as much protection as they can as possible. So, for example, a lot of times we see businesses where you have a very creative person, and say this person is, doing program development for some type of computer software. That person knows the technical, the programming side of it, but they may not have the finances. So they usually will partner with someone who what we call our money partner. And that person may not have the programming experience, but they come with perhaps experience on running a business, financials, or just bringing that financing to the company. So each of them have different interests at stake. The money person wants to make sure that their money and their investment is going to be protected. And usually the programmer wants to make sure that their vision is going to be protected. They want to make sure what they develop, their creative end, is going to be protected. So those are things that you want to really think about, is what you bring to the table and how best to protect those people who are bringing them.
Should we give any consideration to state default laws, and how sufficient are they in terms of our business needs?
Every single state has uniform laws regarding whether it's a corporation, an LLC, a partnership. And what those laws do are they set up what should be the ruling manner for the company. So if you don't already have a partnership agreement and you're a partnership, if you don't come together and formally create a partnership agreement, what's going to happen is your state has already partnership agreements in place. And if any problems arise, they'll say, this is your partnership, this is the law, this is your partnership agreement, here's the law. The same thing with LLC. There's articles of organization, there's operating agreements, and then you have a corporation where you would have bylaws. There's very standard, basic types of laws, and basically what they try to do is be even-handed. They try to split everything 50-50 and make sure everyone comes out even. However, it usually doesn't work so well for most people. Every entrepreneur should tailor-make their bylaws their operating agreements, or their partnership agreements, whichever entity you choose, you have the opportunity to create it as you see fit and to do it in a way that's going to best benefit your business. So if you are in partnership or in an LLC with 3 other members and everyone's bringing something to the table, you want to see how that's going to work. You can do things like, in the event of the business failing, how does that work? Who gets the assets? How do you divide up the assets? If you have a company that has intellectual property, how do you, and you say you've applied for a trademark, say you've applied for a patent, how do you divide that up and who gets to use it? Those are really fine-tuned things that are particular to a company that you would want to be able to plan out. Maybe everyone gets to share in it. Maybe one person's going to take it. Maybe one person's going to take it for a limited time. You can also do things like non-compete. You can figure out so many different ways, and you can really make it what you want it to be. Most people don't like to think about these things because they feel like it's the demise of their company to plan for, bad outcomes. But in a business plan, you're planning for everything. You're planning for your success, but you're also planning for an exit strategy. You're planning for what happens if things don't go as you assume that they go. And the better you plan, whether it's for the better or for the worse, you'll be a lot better off if you had thought about those things in the beginning.
Thank you for joining the Muse Choosing a Legal Business Structure webinar. Be sure to apply for the business plan competition this year. Thank you to all of our panelists for today. I'm Raquel Robinson.
The Miller Coors Urban Entrepreneur Series. Your life, your time, your business. What are you waiting for?